Season 5, baby.
Season 5.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 5 of the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sara.
And I'm Allie.
And we're here. We're doing it. It's Season 5. We're back, baby.
Yep, absolutely. My wife's about to become a football widow again. It's going to be great.
And it hasn't really been that long. It's been a month, I think a month almost to the date since the Euros ended. So we've only been gone for a month, but it feels like longer. We've got a jam-packed, amazing first episode back of Season 5. We're talking international, we're talking NWSL, and we're talking WSL because that is kicking off.
We're talking internationals, we're talking about the US national team, and we're talking about the England games that have happened recently. And Sara had a very exciting moment for the Saturday game for the US national team. Tell the lovely people what you got to do.
Well, yeah, I have press passes, which is amazing. And I didn't get to attend the Saturday game because I wasn't able to be in town. But I've been at the press conference, and we're recording this on Monday. Obviously, it's going to drop after the Tuesday game happens, but I'll be at the press at the game for Tuesday. But it's been really exciting to be at the press conferences and get that kind of like inside scoop behind the curtain, if you will. So I don't know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the insider knowledge.
So both games are against Nigeria, who are a deceptively tough opposition for the US team. I'm sure a lot of fans thought maybe it was a walkover, which, despite the scoreline for Saturday's game, I don't think you could call it a walkover.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I feel like that was kind of an annoying narrative that keeps coming up in all of these U.S. friendlies so far, with the exception of the England game, saying that it's just going to be a walkover and this isn't going to prepare the U.S. Vladko and a lot, actually Alex Morgan and Rose Lavelle were all speaking in the pregame presser before the Saturday game about how Nigeria specifically is a team that they want to play because the style that Nigeria is playing is one that they are going to face a lot in the next year and in the World Cup. That of a very aggressive team, a very physical team, and the counter that they can put on the field, and that's a terrible way of saying that. The counter that the counterattack style that they play, for example, is one that they want to have practice playing against. So they spoke that it was very like intentional, and that narrative about that the U.S. fans have been peddling, whoever it is, it needs to stop. To be honest, because it's also disrespectful to a lot of countries.
It's so disrespectful.
Yeah, and I don't mean to make this negative, but. So let's keep it positive. But I mean, Nigeria in and of themselves have already qualified for the World Cup. They will be there. There's a chance that the U.S. will play them in the World Cup. So that narrative eliminated completely. And yeah, like you said, despite the scoreline, it was a very tactically interesting game to watch.
What did the US do right? In your opinion, watching that game, what was something that you're like, yes, finally, Vladko, you've got this?
I don't think anything is like, Vladko, you've got this, because we're in 2022 and the World Cup is in 2023, and it's pretty much as simple as that. Everything is still building. They shouldn't be at that point yet, and they're not. But the positive is that game after game, camp after camp, it's getting a lot better. The things that I thought that they did well were specifically, I think that the progress that they've made at the outside back position is massive. Vladko has turned this into one of the strongest positions on the field where it used to be one of the weakest. Sofia Huerta is a true outside back, like a true defender. She's not a forward converted to an outside back, and you can tell by how she defends. Emily Fox is just like, I've raved about her before, the future of the women's national team. And I think Vladko's view of the number 6 position, which he said it's not that the position for the national team has evolved because of the personnel. It's actually that the game in the larger sense of the world has evolved, and the 6th position as a whole in the game has evolved so that it can't just be somebody super defensive. It has to be somebody a little bit more dynamic on offense. And that's where he sees someone like Andi Sullivan fitting in. And I'm a huge fan of Andi Sullivan at the number 6. So that's, for me, something that they've done extremely well, is kind of like rework what this number 6 role is without Julie Ertz.
Okay, moving on. So that we do like a little bit of negative on this podcast. So what isn't working? What would you think that Vladko needs to work on and improve for the next camp?
I love Mal Pugh, Sophia Smith, and Alex Morgan up top. I love how Vladko has made the three forwards play together in a little bit more of a dynamic way than they have been, but they haven't been able to fit in how the 9 and 10 are involved in the attack. It's kind of like segmented. It's either or. Either 9s and 10s are pulling the strings and the forwards aren't playing as dynamically, or the forwards are playing dynamically and the 9 and 10 aren't involved, and they haven't been able to meld that together. That's all I really want to see. I just want them involved more, and for the U.S. to have more ways maybe to attack up the middle, which is basically saying the same thing. If the 9 and 10 are involved more, then they will attack up the middle more. Anyways, let's talk England. So England had a game against Austria, which is delicious, just spicy and delicious, because flashback to the Euros, these teams are actually quite familiar with each other right now. And Austria proved themselves to be a very tough team. So what did you see in this game from England?
So it was, first off, let's start. It was a 2-0 win for England, but a bit like the US-Nigeria game, I don't think that tells the whole story, because Austria have been absolutely buoyed by how well they did in the Euros. Like, nobody really expected them to get out of their group. We talked about it. Let's be honest. It was all England-Norway. Norway flumped, and up come Austria. And that has led them to really hone everything. And again, defensively, they are one of the toughest teams I've ever seen us play. And Zinsberg, like, chef's kiss, like, such a great goalkeeper. So the 2-0 doesn't really say anything, because it was really Austria's game and they were pressing and pushing, and it was due to Mary Earps and them not being able to, it's got like Mary Earps saved and also them just missing shot after shot. So that's what I think they need to work on, is they need some like more out and out strikers up front.
So what did you see? Would you like from England really quickly? What about this game? Was it much different than what we saw in the Euros, or was this just the England of the Euros, frankly, just with Alessia Russo starting instead of Alan White?
Yes and no. So we saw Greenwood sub in for Daly as a starting thing, and I think that was a much better choice. I was calling for it during the Euros, and it made more sense the way that the back line worked. Man United fans, don't kill me.
They will, but that's okay.
But Russo stepping up for the first choice number 9, I don't think she's ready.
Oh, you think that Alessia Russo's still better coming off the bench?
Yes. And the reason I say that is because she scored a cracking goal. The first goal was in 7 minutes, and it was a brilliant Stanway setup. Russo, I don't know what she's doing. And then she sort of faded and didn't really do anything after that. And I'm like, I don't think she's quite, maybe it's a mentality thing, maybe it is a skill thing, but she hasn't quite got the full 90 minutes yet.
I totally disagree, though.
Of course you do.
I think she's ready, and particularly, I think that Tooney and Russo play incredible together, and they need Russo plays better when Tooney is playing at the number 10. I think that's just, and that makes sense. They've come up playing together. They play together at United. It makes a lot of sense, but to have Russo and Tooney starting in that game make complete and utter sense to me. I don't think Frank Kirby was up for that start right now, and if this is the time to see what the younger talent is and try out new things, it was perfect.
But I think we need to work on, because the system we had before, and I think it's a system that Wigman wants to keep, is we have 2 excellent number 9s, and we're not using that yet, because we've put on our super sub as a starter, who is going to either be the super sub or who's going to do the work that Ellen White did at the beginning, knacker out your defence, and then you bring on Russo. So this is the time where we use Beth England. This is where we use Chloe Kelly as the number 9. It's what she is at City. And see if we can work out who that number 9 is going to be.
I mean, I think you just said it right there, though. I think Alessia Russo earned that starting role in the Euros, and you've got Chloe Kelly or Beth England to come in as super subs, either up top or on the wing, and both of them are versatile enough for that. Now, I want to call out that Nikita Paris got some playing time.
Yes, and also scored. She's it's been a while since we've seen an England goal from Nikita.
It's been a while since we've seen a goal from Nikita. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. But also, I'm really excited to see that she got more than just like 5 minutes at the end, which is how we've been playing her recently. And again, it was Stanway. Stanway was such a playmaker in this whole game. We talked about Sullivan for the US. Stanway played that beautifully in the middle, that link up between the number 10 and the midfield, and her and Kira Walsh, again, unsung hero, Kira Walsh.
Unsung hero, but it's starting to be a little sung right now, you know? Do we hear Barcelona rumors?
Okay, so over to the NWSL, and we are coming towards the end of the season, and it's starting to form how the playoffs are going to go. Where are we standing now?
The playoff picture right now is shaping up. It's just like kind of a wild way. Essentially, everybody from like 1 through 8, I would say, has a shot at it. 8 being Orlando, and it's kind of like hanging on by a thread, but they still have a shot at it. But then from 1 to 7, the difference in points is 6. So this is truly whoever's sitting in first right now, which is San Diego. It doesn't really matter because literally anything can happen right now. Anything can happen between now and the end of the season, and we have no idea who's going to end up being in the top seeds, which is really exciting.
That is exciting. I'm rooting for Orlando.
You're rooting for Orlando? Of course you are. Everybody kind of is. Orlando's one of those teams that you're just like, and I mean this in the light way, you have to take some pity on because it's been rough. And if you are still out there and you're still an Orlando fan, I have so much appreciation and respect for you because it has been hard. It has been oh so very hard.
But speaking of my now pick for the playoffs, apparently, Orlando, they have been one of the big surprises in a good way.
Wouldn't you say so?
I 100% agree. I think when they came into this season, they had lost 2 big players in Harrison Krieger. They had lost a couple of other star.
Well, Alex Morgan went to San Diego. Marta got hurt. Like, basically any of the big names left. Carson Pickett left.
Yeah, Carson Pickett left. They lost players like through their own doing with Amy Turner and Angrid James. So you saw that and you were like, oh, this is going to be another rotten season for Orlando. But the fact we're saying that they are still, granted as you said, hanging by a thread, but they are still in contention to get a playoff spot is immense for them.
Absolutely. We thought they would be where Gotham is right now. And that hurts my heart to say as somebody who lives in New York. But we thought Orlando would be where Gotham is, sitting at the bottom of the table with everybody saying, oh, what a rough time it's been for them. But instead, this is what rebuilding and drafting well does. And sometimes not forming a team around a couple internationals who take all of your money and then you have scraps left to pay everybody else. Maybe that's what the good is happening right now. And absolutely, Orlando has been an incredible surprise this season, along with, I would throw in Chicago and Houston, both teams doing much better than I think everybody anticipated them doing at the beginning of the season.
Houston for me was a big shock because, again, we thought they won the Challenge Cup once, and that seemed to be their pick. Yeah, that seemed to be their peak. But yeah, this season they did really well in the beginning. They've dropped a little bit since, but they seem to be yo-yoing a bit.
Well, they got such as Houston, and that's why we love them. They're going to go on a 5-game win streak, and then they're going to go on a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, because they got second with 1 point behind San Diego, and then they dropped, and then yeah.
Houston. In the off season before this year, they got rid of basically their entire back line, and everybody was like, "Well, you can't outscore everybody." But listen, they've been really smart in their signings. Maria Sanchez coming over from Tigres, coming over from La Liga MX. She's been outstanding on the wing for Houston. And then Rachel Daly leaving, but none other than the other English over there, Ebony Salmon, basically just slotting in perfectly into what Rachel Daly was. It could not be more perfect, honestly, for everybody.
I think Ebony Salmon going over to Houston is the best career move she has ever made because she wasn't doing anything in Louisville because the coach didn't trust her, it seemed, and didn't want to do anything with her. We bring her over to Houston. Suddenly she's got an England call-up again. She's absolutely firing them home. So I'm excited as an England fan to have her at the Dash because that is great future building for my national team.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We need to stop agreeing so much, Allie. Where's the heat? Where's the fire that people come to this podcast for?
Let's talk about Gotham and what the hell is all I can say, really. What has happened to Gotham?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about good surprises. Now, Gotham has been the worst of the bad surprises of this season, I think, for everybody. Because they came into this, and listen, whether you thought Allie Krieger and Ashlyn Harris joining the team was a good move or a bad move, it doesn't really matter because everybody thought that they would at least be in playoff contention, right? They had a strong forward line. They had with Anamanu, Paige Monahan. There wasn't a ton of movement except they brought in Christy Mewis, and that looked like it was going to boost what was already a pretty middle-of-the-table team with the potential to beat everybody. Brought in Christy Mewis, and it looked like that was going to really boost them to the top, and instead, it has just been abysmal. And as somebody who has covered the games, let me tell you, it is rough. And it is hard to try to find a positive in there, and you can tell both of the coaches and mainly the players, I say both of the coaches, Scott Parkinson obviously before he got let go of, and now Hugh Menzies, but mainly the players are so equally frustrated by the season, and I don't think anybody can really put their finger on one thing right now. I can try, but I don't think anybody can really put their finger on one thing. I mean, I'll throw it to you as somebody who's kind of been more, I guess, on the outside of Gotham. What do you think to be the main issue for Gotham this year?
The chemistry's off. There is something that they are not talking to each other. Like, for the few Gotham games that I have managed to stay up and watch, like, they will have some fantastic run of play, and then there's no one in the box because they haven't figured out which one's going. Like, there's just the chemistry is off. They're not talking to each other.
It's interesting that you say that because it does seem like there's like they've definitely struggled to build the on-field chemistry. Like, it looks the same as it did at the beginning of the season when I remember seeing the first game and being like, oh, that's okay, they'll figure that out, and then they haven't.
And exactly, that's the problem.
What's interesting about that is that they genuinely do all seem to have a great time together in the locker room, and usually that translates to the field, and it just has not. And I don't want to talk any kind of like bad or trash or something, but I do think that the loss of Freya Coombe has been pretty detrimental, and they haven't been able to find a replacement for her that is as tactically proficient, to say it kindly, with at least with the players that they have. And I'm just going to positively call out Yael over Bush West, the GM of Gotham FC, who I've never seen a GM do this, tweeted today essentially saying, look, this is not okay with us. I want to make it clear that this is not okay with us. And here are all of the things that we are doing to make sure that next season is not like this season. And I applaud that. But there needs to be a lot of off-season moves, including in the back line, in the midfield, in the forward role, and in the head coaching position. All four of those things need to change.
I feel like Gotham, for me, are a bit like the Netherlands in the fact that they have a great personal relationship with each other, but they don't really connect with their coach for various reasons. And that is then not translating.
I don't think so. And I only say that because they loved Scott Parkinson. Everybody loved Scott Parkinson. He was a gem, and he was so nice, and they all spoke very highly of him at times where they didn't need to, frankly.
Yeah, but wasn't he a bit out of his depth?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that it... But I wouldn't... All I'm saying is I wouldn't compare... I definitely think he was out of his depth. I wouldn't compare that to Mark Parsons. Yes, Mark Parsons was a bit out of his depth, but also... What really went wrong there, too, is that the Netherlands players didn't have respect for him. I think Gotham players had a lot of respect and bought into what Scott was doing. He just wasn't doing the right things.
Okay, so let's talk about the games that are happening this weekend. They are big games, very big games, because as you said, not much in it.
Not much in it.
So, first game is Orlando Pride versus Portland.
Look, Portland smashed Orlando 6-0 earlier this season, so it could be a bloodbath. And also, Orlando's been steadily improving throughout the season. They could play the upset, but I think all of these games are going to be games to watch, and so I'm going to sound like a broken record. But I know we're not doing predictions, but I do think Portland's going to take this. But it will be a fun one because Portland's going to have a lot of tired internationals coming back, so it could end up being pretty evenly matched.
OL Reign, Chicago.
Okay, this is fun though because OL's in 5th and Chicago's in 6th. So here we go. The table is really going to start setting itself this weekend.
I'm excited by that. Again, not doing predictions, but I'm going to give it to OL.
Okay, I'm not doing a prediction.
I'm not doing predictions, but I'm giving it to OL.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you a score, but I'm just saying.
Okay, fair enough.
OL. Okay, and the game that I'm most excited about, Washington versus San Diego.
Why are you excited about this game?
Because I am.
Washington has had a terrible season. I think San Diego is going to utterly stomp them.
Which is why I'm excited, because I don't like Washington.
Let me just say about San Diego, was I super right about Casey Stoney and San Diego Wave and the team that they were putting together? Or was I super right? I was. Just had to take that moment. I absolutely love watching that team play. And Alex Morgan has been on fire.
You had to slip that in there.
I did. I had to.
Okay. Everybody's favorite team, North Carolina, versus Racing Louisville.
Let's put this as the game to not watch if you're not going to watch a game. No, I'm sorry. Look, Racing has had a tough season. When I really thought that they were going to have a better season, there just seems to be, they can't get rid of this internal turmoil. And, I would love to have the Racing Louisville fan club owners that we had on a couple of years ago to talk through this, because I don't know what's going on at Racing, and it could be so good. North Carolina looked pretty bad against Gotham FC, so this could actually, I think it'll be an even matchup. That's what this will be. So maybe it is the game to watch.
Speaking of, Gotham versus Kansas.
Kansas City's on fire this year. And another ding, 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 I told you so moment from me over here. We said Kansas City was going to be incredible. And mind you, this is a Kansas City still without Sam Ewis and Lynn Williams. Let's just point that out. The thing about Gotham is when they're losing right now, they're not losing by a lot. So I think it actually could end up. Gotham can put goals away, so I think it'll be a high-scoring game. That's what I think about this.
And then probably again a game that I think you absolutely have to watch, which is Houston versus Angel City.
It's going to be an absolute best. It's really just us highlighting that we're here. The NWSL is happening, and we're covering it, baby. We're back. Let's go around the world. Over to Mexico, La Liga MX, our favorite league to cover, really. Clearly doesn't rest ever. I feel like they're always playing. La Apertura started again at the beginning of July, so we're officially in the 2022 through 2023 season for La Liga MX. Guadalajara leads the table right now by 2 points over Tigres after a smashing 7-0 win over Mazatlan.
Up to north of the border, Scotland. It's Glasgow's world and we're just living in it. The 3 Glaswegian teams played 2 weeks ago and all 3 won comfortably. Rangers are currently atop of the league on goal difference, but only 4 weeks in, this league is already hotting up.
Over to España. Spain's Primera División kicks off this weekend. No doubt this will be the most competitive season yet in Spain's league. The weekend kicks off with a big matchup between Atletico Madrid and Sociedad. Sociedad finished second last season, while Atletico Madrid just missed the Champions League in 4th place.
And over to the Emerald Isle in Ireland. We're in the final stages of the Irish League with Shelbourne leading. Wexford Youth are just 2 points behind them, so it's going to be a thrilling end to the season.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Over to the WSL. The WSL kicks off this weekend on what day, Allie?
On Saturday, it's Tottenham versus Man United.
Woo-woo. So we're going to get into this segment. We're going to talk about WSL, just overview. We're not going to preview the games. We're just going to have a fun chat, discussion, if you will, about who's going to land in top 3, winners, losers, predictions for all of that, who gets relegated, etc. I have to highlight just a quick news I saw right before we started recording that Emirates is almost sold out for the North London Derby, yes, which is just amazing.
Huge.
It's huge. It's huge, man. Okay, so let's do it. Let's start with top 3. So Champions League, this is always a discussion. The last time we talked about this, you and Helen were somehow under the impression that West Ham were going to be in the top 3 this season. Who finishes in the top 3 for you? And why?
Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man United.
You think Arsenal's going to finish ahead of Chelsea this season?
I do, because I think that Arsenal was super close last season. And I think that the signings they've made this window have been slightly smarter and slightly they've basically worked out their weaknesses and have slotted players to fit those weaknesses, whereas I think Chelsea have gone a bit more shotgun with it, and they've picked players that they like and want to have but not necessarily have the slot for. So I think
I don't want to pick the same 3 as you.
But you're going to.
Look, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I was hoping that you were going to pick Chelsea to win the whole thing. It's going to be really tight between Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah, I think those are the two, to be honest, the only contenders, really.
Okay, I'm glad we disagree on something, because I actually very much disagree. I think United is in it this year. I really think that they are. Now, granted, they finished pretty far behind, like over 10 points behind each of them last season, but the growth that we've seen from Ella Toone and Alessia Russo, Mary Earps, like these are players who are becoming essentially the new backbone of the England national team. The confidence that they're going to take from the Euros into this new season, I think that they're going to really contend. I think we're not going to just have a battle between 2 teams. I think we're going to have a top 3 battle.
However, you have named 3 players out of a 22-25 player squad for a start.
I have, but I've named key positions, have I not?
Second, and most importantly, Mark Skinner is not Serena Wigman. And that's the difference. The reason why I'm saying that Man United are not title contenders, I think they're going to do a better job and they're going to step up from where they were last season. And I think they're going to end up 3rd and actually get the Champions League spot that they want. However, I don't think Mark Skinner's the man that's going to push them to the top. I don't. He had an all-right career at Birmingham. He had an abysmal career at Orlando. I don't think he is the man. They need someone that's either had the experience of Champions League or winning the league. They need someone that's not him.
However, though, you did call out Lucia Garcia as a fantastic move in the transfer window. It's a great addition. I think where United falls is in their back 4. I don't think Mannion, Thorsdottir, this isn't in the back 4. I don't think Katie Zellum, like those were players that needed to be reinforced. But I do think that this is a team that's going to gel more. We saw them grow throughout the season, and I do think that they're going to be able to contend. Chelsea and Arsenal are not untouchable here. They're really not. I think maybe the more interesting discussion is not the 1, 2, 3. It's what happens. Maybe it's the battle for this 3rd place, actually, and what happens in the 3, 4, 5, because that is going to be really shaken up. And specifically, I think City will fall greatly.
I don't think City have had a great transfer window. They haven't replaced well at all. They haven't replaced enough. And nobody likes Taylor. Let's be honest. So I think City are going to be awakened with a short, sharp shock. And
yeah, so you think it's Arsenal, Chelsea, United, and then, dare I say, West Ham?
That's the dream. That's the dream. I personally think we'll probably... if we play as well as we did last season and don't have the dip that we had at Christmas, I think we could get 5th quite reasonably. I think it's going to be maybe, and it pains me to say it, possibly Tottenham 4th.
Wow.
And that is painful for me to say, but I do think that Tottenham, though they haven't had the greatest transfer window, haven't completely scrapped their whole squad like City have.
I mean, you've just heard me say this. I'm supremely disappointed in Tottenham's Chelsea transfer window. They, like you said, they were sitting in 5th last year, and it felt like if they just made some better moves, they could really, really push themselves up. I think with City falling, it's going to be kind of like a City, Tottenham, West Ham battle.
Maybe even Liverpool. You can probably throw Liverpool into there as well.
Liverpool's quite the call out. Why do you think they're going to be up there so high?
Because I think Matt Beard's got a lot to prove. He left West Ham under a bit of a cloud, let's be honest. He couldn't save Bristol when he was their interim manager and they got relegated. He's managed to pretty much like force Liverpool to the top of the table to get them thing. And he's got to prove he's still a top WSL manager. And I think he might do that. I do think he's still got there. I think they are a bit shaky defensively, and they have not strengthened that at all.
That would be a power move. Has there ever been a team in the WSL that has come up from the championship, from the second tier, and finished anything above mid-table ever?
Man United, came fourth in their first season.
Because of Casey Stoney.
Yeah.
So that's an anomaly.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, so I wouldn't be... I think Liverpool are either going to fly high or crash and burn. There's no in between for them.
Okay, so speaking of crashing and burning, we have to talk about it. Who do you expect to be relegated this upcoming season? We had to wave goodbye to Birmingham City last year. So obviously sitting just above them was Leicester City. Will it be Leicester City again going back down?
You're probably going to kill me when I say this, but I'm going Villa.
Really?
I'm going Villa. And the reason I'm going Villa is because they have done the cardinal sin that we tell them all teams not to do. They have scrapped most of their players from last season, and they have brought in what Leicester did last season, which is B-string, C-string players from other teams, apart from Rachel Daly. So they've brought in players that, and then like the other player that was going to be great for them, Simone McGill, did her ACL in the Euros. So she's not going to be playing for, they've lost.
The Simone McGill is a huge blow for them. Arguably more than Rachel Daly, dare I say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. McGill was going to be the big named signing for them. Yes, they got Natasha Harding, but they just seem to have got bit of players from different squads. Like Kenza Darley's come from Everton. Kenza Darley hasn't done anything in the WSL. It's not her style of play. I don't know why she keeps saying.
I see Villa differently than you, because what we were saying about Leicester last year, that they shouldn't have scrapped everything, it's because they were a winning team. Villa was not a winning team. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what? Kind of like Orlando did. Let's get rid of the majority of what's happening. It's easier to start anew than to try to fix puzzle pieces. So let's just do that. And I really like the team that they started to build. It's a huge bummer about McGill, but I don't see them being relegated. And I don't want to go with the easy answer of Leicester City, but I'm sorry, they really haven't made enough moves in the offseason to make me think that they're going to be so much better than they were before. So I think, I think it's, frankly, if I want to be bold, I'm going to say Everton, because they, along with Tottenham, were probably the biggest disappointment to me in the offseason.
Yeah, I will say that Everton's on my list as well of bottom three. I think it is going to be Leicester, Everton and Aston Villa, not necessarily in that order, but it'll be flipped up between those. The reason
I don't think it'll be Villa in the bottom three. I have high hopes for Villa.
I don't.
I don't know why.
I don't, and the reason I don't is because I'm looking at them and you've got so many personalities in Villa. I don't know how they're going to gel. I really don't, is the honest answer.
And I'm hanging my hat on that they gel. And I have faith in Rachel Daly. Honestly, like, we've seen what she was able to do pulling. Basically, like, they built that team around her in Houston is what ended up happening. And we've seen her pull teams together. And I don't think she gets enough credit for the leader that she is, because she is. And I really think that we're going to see fun things from Aston Villa this year. My bottom two are Leicester and Everton, not necessarily in that order. And if I'm going to be bold, like I said, Everton's going down. Leicester did pick it up at the end of the season.
And it has been on Everton's cards for a long time that they were going to get relegated. They had a couple of great seasons, and then they've had a couple of terrible seasons, and they've just been lucky that there have been teams more terrible than them.
But it's been shocking. Last year was shocking for them because they looked like their trajectory was going up in the season before. And then last season, they just crashed and burned, and this might be the season they really go up in flames, to use that metaphor. And with that was episode 1 of season 5. We are going to be here all WSL season long. I'm so excited to continue covering NWSL. Obviously, we have games this weekend in the NWSL, in the WSL. So next week we will be covering game specific. But this has been a really fun intro chat into the back into the NWSL and into the WSL, Allie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to be back, and if you see us at like games, whether it's the NWSL or WSL, come say hi. We don't bite, I promise. You have to pay extra for that.
Exactly. All right, and for the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.